United States submarine base at Key West, Florida. A dispatch that quoted President Truman's press secretary, Charles Ross, as saying that President Truman has no knowledge of any secret project by this government that would give substance to the existence of such objects. Ross also said that both the Air Force and the Navy deny that such objects exist.
There we go.
Yeah, part two.
Hi.
Hi.
It's been a hot minute. Sorry everyone. We got busy with work and life but that doesn't matter because we're here now.
Right.
So, hey, what's up? My name is Noelle, and I hate when people say, would you still love me if I were a worm? Girl,
The answer is absolutely not.
does
That's
he
disgusting.
even love you as a human being? Who are you?
And I'm Chelsea. As unpredictable as I am with recording schedules, I am quite loyal.
Yeah, that's true. I would say the same. It's just been we both started new positions. And crazy things happened at work, which we don't need to talk about, but know that it's very insane. And then life got super busy, and rather than give a half-baked product, we said, let's go ahead and take a week off. And we've been doing like every other week, but last week, which should have been a recording week, was Kelby Block Party, and I won tickets last minute, literally Wednesday night. It was on Thursday, so your girl sometimes has to choose herself. So
And then I was slammed all weekend. So
so
didn't work
so
for either of us. But we
so
have
here
time
we
now.
are. We do have time now. Here we are now. And in the meantime, while we were doing all of that, you all were chit-chatting in Discord. And that's where today's episode comes from. Specifically, Tony Guacamole. I hope that's your government last name, Guacamole, Mr. Guacamole, from the Guacamole Empire.
Mhm. House of Guacamole. The only man who could drop a produce tip into our DMs and start an international incident.
That's actually
A
so true and
legend.
right. It's on brand for Tony Guacamole to suggest
Yeah.
that we cover this topic. So shout out. Thanks for sending me down the rabbit hole, which connects to everything we've talked about and everything we're dealing with currently. So love that. But I digress. What comes to mind when you think of bananas? Some
I think of
what do you think?
Nymphia Wind, the most recent winner of RuPaul's. No, she just
No.
lost. She's not anymore. I think of Nymphia Wind, who was last year's RuPaul's Drag Race winner because she was really into bananas. Um, I think of myself
Mm,
as also sad and bruised.
hmm.
Um, and I think of a nice snack.
Yeah.
That's what I think of.
I, you know what? Now that you said it, I do think of Nymphia Wind as well. I think of that yellow with the brown spots look that she
Mm.
pulled. That was so cool. But
Yep.
I also kind of think of something boring and bland. Um, if I'm being honest, I don't really love bananas. I'll eat them, but I don't love them. I like blending them frozen into like a cold brew, but I don't reach for them. And honestly, I don't think one place you will also see people not reach for them, I should say, is a hotel free breakfast. Unfortunately for me, it's one of the few vegan things around, but they
Well, why
go.
do they cut them in half? Now you've
Um,
exposed the banana to air, and I feel like it's dirty and I don't want it anymore.
it is. They know how to ruin a good thing. Um, and for a lot of us, when we think of bananas, we think of Gwen Stefani spelling it out on the radio, and really that's kind of the only way we know how to spell it correctly.
It's true.
Even
That really is how I know how to spell it correctly.
I know, every time I wrote banana on here, you think I wasn't singing the song in my head.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
a good call out. I don't really like Gwen Stefani, but
Gwen Stefani's a fucking demon now, but
yeah.
I think that Gwen Stefani died in 2005. That's just what I'm gonna like.
Her and Avril Lavigne went down in the same plane.
Yep. Even Caleb Presley, which some of you may know from Barstool Sports, in an interview, he said this is his favorite fact, like to drop in conversations, like party trick favor facts. What do you think the number one sold item at Walmart is year over year?
Well, without just taking the context and making an educated guess,
Yeah.
I would say socks.
I think my original guess was like a cleaning product like Windex or something.
Yeah.
But if you couldn't guess, it's bananas.
Bananas, bitch.
It's bananas, bitch.
Because we may not like Gwen Stefani, but we will put Britney Spears into everything we can.
It's
So,
bananas, bitch.
mhm.
Um, Globally, we eat over 30 billion pounds of bananas a year, which is fucking crazy because I don't know who's doing that. It's the fourth largest agricultural commodity on the planet. In the US, we eat more bananas than apples and oranges combined, about 28 pounds per person per year. Hey, what?
That's a lot. That's
Hey, what was that? That's fucking crazy because I'm not even eating a pound a year.
I mean, I do eat bananas, but I don't think I'm even eating that much. And dare I say, I'm just going to say this at the top of the episode, the Runts bananas are my favorite.
What the fuck are those?
Not the Runts bananas. What are the other candy bananas that come in all the fruit? I like the little candy bananas the best.
Oh, the like chalky candy?
Yeah, the chalk candy. The
You
banana chalk is my
you
favorite.
fucking would. You fucking would.
Oh, they're good.
But besides being the part of a free hotel breakfast that no one touches, this fruit has a body count.
Hell yeah.
Bananas have overthrown governments, incited massacres, fueled CIA coups, and left a bloody footprint across Latin America and the Caribbean. Miss Chiquita, the cartoon banana lady in heels, she's covering up a century of corporate colonialism. That's what's under that hat.
Man,
Lies.
yeah, and our hands are stained red. Also, they have the market on coming down the stairs in pajamas.
Bananas in pajamas.
Yeah, remember? They tried to indoctrinate us to not
They
know.
did. If I ever see the bananas in pajamas coming down the stairs, I'm fucking tackling them and hitting them with hammers.
Oh my God. You know what's underneath those oh, you know what? I bet they were at the Diddy baby oil parties. That's how fucked up the
Yeah,
bananas and pajamas
the
are.
bananas in pajamas were at the freak offs.
Yeah. They were the ones who made him chase down poor Cassie. And
Yeah.
then they're wearing little like leather daddy harnesses under those pajamas. They're fucking disgusting. We're kink shaming here today.
Yeah, I will kink shame if it is the bananas in pajamas
Mhm.
because why are you wearing pajamas all day? Why are you bananas with a face? Why are you talking to me? Why
Well,
are
why full
you
sneakers with pajamas?
it literally that's a great fucking question.
Those
Why
like
full
Oxfords
sneakers?
that they were wearing? Like, come on.
They were
Wouldn't
up
trust
to
that.
something and it was putting fucking Ruhypnol in baby oil. So
Yep.
it all started in 1870 with Captain Lorenzo Dow Baker, a Massachusetts seafarer who bought 160 bunches of bananas in Jamaica and sailed them to none other than Jersey City.
Huh.
The cost, $40. Selling price, 2,000. A 4,900% return on fruit that rots in under a week. Hey,
Oh my God.
let's actually talk about that really quick. When I do buy a banana, which is very often, I mean, not often, not very often. Jesus, the bananas and pajamas are getting to my brain. Um, it's like you turn your back and that shit is unripe or rotten. It's like it has no perfect time. It's either like unripe and raw and God, what's that? Like the texture of an unripe banana is almost hairy. It's like you're
Yeah, it's hard.
it's hard. It almost is like you're eating construction material, like something that would
It's
go
almost
into a
like
wall.
perfume. It's like you're eating perfume. It
And
has just like a weird and I always once they go bad, I'm like, I can just make bread. That's a lie. I don't know how to
who's
make
doing
bread.
that? Who's doing that? Who's
I don't know.
actually, that's a fucking
Or
lie.
or I'm like, I'll just feed these to my dogs. So I chop them up and then I put them in the freezer as little treats. And then I'm like, I'm not fucking giving these to my dogs. And I throw them away after like 2 months.
Yeah, and that's really it. Because like
Yeah, they're taking up real estate in my fridge and then my freezer now after the counter space. Not in
It's
this economy.
unbelievable. It's
Yeah,
unbelievable.
it's
I
insane.
I can't. Honestly, the more I learn about bananas, the more I hate them. But anyway, that type of a markup in the 1800s, fucking bananas. Um, Baker smelled profit, but it was miner Cooper Keith, a Connecticut railroad baron, who realized the scale of the gold mine. Keith had been building a railroad through Costa Rica's jungles, trying to link the capital to the Atlantic coast. It was brutal. 4,000 workers died, mostly from malaria, dysentery, and exhaustion. Many were Black Jamaicans, recruited under false pretenses and often never paid. To feed them, Keith planted bananas, but soon he realized the real money wasn't in the trains, it was in the trees.
Just like Predator.
Exactly. By 1899, Keith merged with Baker and wholesaler Andrew Preston, forming the United Fruit Company, or UFCO. Headquarters Boston, capital American. Profits extracted from Central America.
Oh, this is pre-NAFTA. Love to see how we're already ruining any agricultural like profits that other countries can have, and then we get mad when there's no jobs and they come here.
Dude, that's what I said. We talked about it on Patreon, but I was like, a tale as old as America's history and inception is exploitative colonialism.
Yeah.
Whether it's bananas or oil or natural gas, whatever you got, baby, we're coming for you.
Yeah.
By
There's
night,
no escape. It's
no,
like
you,
Chucky.
no, literally, it's like Chucky and Freddy Krueger because like we're coming for you and we're coming for you while you sleep too.
Mm-hmm.
By 1900, UFCO controlled 80% of the US banana market. It owned 3.5 million acres across the region by the 1930s and operated its own railways and ports, postal services in Guatemala. They had created it and run it and owned it specifically for their needs since 1901. Radio and telegraph systems.
Man,
Um,
imagine getting a banana branded telegram. And
they
it's like
did.
your family is dead.
They did. They literally did that exact thing happen.
No, banana
Yeah.
branded telegram.
Yes. They in 1913 they founded the Tropical Radio and Telegraph Company and the Great White Fleet. It's a private shipping line which doubled as the start of the Caribbean cruise industry.
My God.
I always knew that cruises were evil. I've
And
said
there's
this since the dawn of time that cruises are white trash luxury and I will
yeah.
never fucking get on one. You cannot force me. You cannot make me. I'd rather fucking die. And it's because I have a sixth sense, and that sixth sense is for
Well,
colonialism. And I knew.
it's
I knew.
crazy that it is still a great white fleet.
It is. It is. Both because it's full of big whites and on the ocean they all look like great whites floating. So I don't know if saying that briefly really paints the picture, but like this was basically a civilization built on a banana company,
Yeah, it
right?
was like Amazon. It was like an Amazon meets Facebook of the 1900s. It's like what we're dealing with right now, where corporations are controlling everything. And that's why we're seeing. Did you know that they got rid of the tax on indoor tanning beds?
Yeah, I did.
It's
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. It's like the bananas are back, but
I
it's
know.
oranges now. Yeah, you get my drift.
Yeah, I did. Good one.
Thanks, I tried.
Uh, it's like there have been a few. I think they've been unsuccessful, but like I think eBay and Amazon did it where they built cities. Like they built a city within a city to fully encompass the employees, and that's
Yeah,
exactly what UFCO did. Like you lived within the city's Amazon city, and everything that you did, from the water you brushed your teeth with to the pillow you put your head down on, was all owned and purchased from the Amazon City Corporation. But in this case, it would be UFCO,
just corporate mafia.
literally. So
It's like a corporate North Korea.
You have no idea how true that statement's going to be. UFCO wasn't just a fruit company, it was a shadow government. United Fruit's power spread across Guatemala, Honduras, Costa Rica, Colombia, and honestly, just all of like the global south, if being honest. Locals called it, what do you think this is? This is the octopus in Spanish.
El
El
pulpo.
Pupo? El
El
Pupo?
pulpo. Yeah. Oh, they're like fucking Hydra.
Yes. Yes. Locals literally called it a hydra or El Pupo or the octopus because of how its tentacles wrapped around the land, the law, and the labor. And this is where we get the phrase, quote, banana republic, coined in 1904 by writer O. Henry to describe Honduras, where UFCO owned the land, ran the trains, picked the presidents, and printed the news. So when you say this was like fucking banana North Korea, oh boy, were you right. What
Mm-hmm.
you listened to on the radio, what you read in the newspapers, what you wore, what you ate, where you lived, who you hung out with, how you traveled was all owned and operated by UFCO.
Damn.
UFCO had competitors like what is this? Cuamel,
Cuyamel?
Cuamel Fruit Company, led by Samuel Zemurray, a motherfucker who didn't like losing.
Hell
When
yeah. Do we like this guy or no?
no, 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 no,
Okay.
no, no.
But if you describe someone as like a motherfucker who doesn't like.
Well, I mean that motherfucker derogatory.
Oh, okay. All right.
When
So real
a
motherfucker.
real motherfucker, a real
Okay.
piece of shit.
Okay.
When Honduran President Miguel Davila tried to cut land concessions, Sam hired mercenaries, launched a coup, and installed his puppet, Manuel Bonilla.
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 I
Sam
got you.
would go on to buy UFCO and become its president.
Oh, I should have read that sentence before I asked if we hate him or not.
Yeah. So, and I I think I talk about this a little bit later on, but there are, how can I say this? The United States history lessons that it teaches children in public school like to frame the United States government as this like savior,
Mm-hmm.
that it like defeats terrorism, it defeats communism, it saves like all of these quote unquote poor, non-established countries, like third world. It likes to put itself as like a white knight, and
Yeah.
that's what the propaganda has been fed to you says. In reality, it is the complete opposite in every way, shape, and form. And this is a great example of that. Like the Honduras in 1911 tried to take back land that had been stolen and colonized by the fucking fruit company, by the bananas, and give it back to the people, right? That's what the land concessions were. It was trying to take control of its country, land, people, money, etc. The government was. And Sam is so fucking rich and backed by American greed and money that he single-handedly stomped out this like attempted revolution
Yeah.
of the people of Honduras. He single-handedly, like backed by American capital, hired mercenaries to fucking kill anyone who went up against him, protested against him, and then from the inside out, launched a coup, and in the most American CIA move possible, installed his own hand-picked government officials who obviously would not allow land concessions and would
Yeah.
give him deals on taxes and cutbacks and etc. So,
This just
um,
reminds me, we need to do a story about Subcomandante Marcos because he's a fucking revolutionary badass in Mexico. Or I believe he's from Mexico. Yeah, he is. But basically, he has taken on in like the early 1900s in Honduras, there was the Zapatista army, and they fought a bunch of this stuff. And then Subcomandante Marcos kind of took it took the reins up, but he's so fucking cool. He wears a mask like a luchador. I'll send you a picture of
Ooh,
him.
hell yeah.
But well, I learned about him in school, but yeah, we should do a story on this guy because basically um part of his lore is they were like, we're gonna kill this motherfucker as soon as we see him, like the Mexican government did. And he's like, okay, I'll meet you in town. And he went and got like a little coffee in town and sat at a little cafe and they didn't do
Oh,
shit.
he looks incredible.
Isn't that, yeah, what a
He's
badass,
like
right?
smoking a pipe through the mask on
Yeah.
horseback with like a rifle on his back. What an unbelievable badass.
Yeah, I recommend everyone. Well, we got to do a
Yeah, we'll
story
have
about him
to.
because
We'll have to.
huge badass. Yeah.
Especially after this episode, because like the one thing that unfortunately the United Fruit Company slash Chiquita Banana Company does not have is a specific revolutionary hero story. Obviously, the people who were victimized and fighting against and the revolutionaries within these countries like are the hopes in the
Hmm.
stories, but I think that we get so Ameribrained that we think like we're stuck in this like perpetual hellscape of exploitation, colonialism, and capitalism.
Hmm.
That's not true because throughout history, there have always been revolutionaries. There have always been people who not just fight the power, but win against the power and give the power back to the people. Like United States capitalism is the youngest out of all, and yet like we are so Ameribrained, we are so propagandized that we think like this is it, this is the end all be all. And I think it's important to remind ourselves of those stories of like
Yeah.
the people of the past and present, and honestly even future who have gone up against the power and won. So
Yeah.
we'll
I
absolutely have to.
beautifully said. Totally agree.
So back to evil piece of shit Sam. So after, doing a whole government coup and killing people, his motto, a man always has two reasons for doing anything, a good reason and the real reason. The real reason he's referencing, profit. Profit over people always. UFCO's workforce had been segregated by Sam, specifically segregated by race and class. Caribbean black workers were paid in company script, which was
Mm.
worth less than cash.
It's always scary when you hear that too.
Yep. Yep. Charged inflated prices at company-owned stores, which are the only place they can.
Their fucking play money works.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Denied medical care and compensation for injuries, and forced to work 7-day weeks for as little as $1.30 a day.
But yet, fuck unions, right?
And this is truly like these fucking fake corporation shanty towns where they force the workers to use their monopoly money to then buy their overpriced garbage at the monopoly money store, like to just feed into the cycle. It genuinely is like Dante's Inferno. Like this is the 10th level of hell
Yeah.
where you are forced into a company-owned city and everything you do is owned by the company and you have to like the company pays you in monopoly money and then you can only use your monopoly money at the company stores and the company store is selling you fucking generic and expired shit for 4,000 increase profit rate.
Yeah, and it's so similar to like indentured servitude. Like, we'll give you this money that's not worth anything, and you depend on us to survive. We set the prices. You go into debt.
Hmm.
Um,
There's
and
no way out.
no way out. Yeah.
There's absolutely no way out. When you do this level of like horrific corporate greed and like I just feel like this is like Geneva Convention ass shit. Like
Yeah.
when you do this specifically, because right now we all know the struggle of the working class is like you're overworked and you're underpaid and you can barely afford to survive. Therefore, you can't even think about getting out of your situation or like
Yeah.
fighting the good fight, quote unquote. You can't even get into a revolutionary mindset because you are just trying to survive, right? And that's
Right.
all intentional. That's the system working exactly how it was built to. But this is that exacerbated. This is like, it's inhumane. It's weird. It's like a fake life within a fake city, within fake rules with real people.
Hmm.
And like, of course they can't get out. How could they? And even if they tried, guess what? They get gunned the fuck down.
Yeah, there's no, especially like if they're taking like a, if they're being segregated by race and class, then they're already fighting a culture war. It's like the less dead. So
Hmm.
even if any of these people tried to fight back, you know that they were never taken seriously.
No, and that's all intentional. That's all intentional. It's this is a play from like the capitalist handbook, right? It's what Fred Hampton and the Black Panthers talked about. Like they want us fighting each other because when we're fighting each other, we're blind to them. It's the sleight
Hmm.
of hand magic of it all.
Yeah.
So fast forward just a little bit. In 1928 in Colombia, thousands of workers went on strike, demanding real wages, 6-day weeks, which is crazy. They just
Yeah,
want one
that's
day off,
bare minimum. Yeah.
one day off, hospital services, and written contracts. UFCO called in the Colombian army.
Oh God, yeah. So it's
Backed
necessary.
by US pressure, they opened fire on unarmed protesters. The reported death toll was 47, but people who were actually there and lived there estimate it's up to 2,000.
Oh God. Yeah. The army coming in to fire on unarmed protesters, that's not a 47%
No,
death count.
no, not at all. Gabriel Garcia Marquez later called it the Banana Massacre in 100 Years of Solitude, and he wasn't exaggerating. A U.S. diplomat praised the violence for helping contain Bolshevism, aka a communist government. Because you might be asking yourself, how did UFCO not only get the Colombian army, but specifically had the US government backing the Colombian army? And baby, you shouldn't be surprised when I say it is the Scooby-Doo monster that they pull out of the closet anytime they need to do something. That's communism, baby. That is communism.
Yeah.
And of course, it never actually is. It's just always about control. That's just the trigger word based off of years and years of propaganda drilled into the tiny, mushy brains of Americans that make them go, okay, we'll allow for fucking war crimes
Uh-huh.
because we're
Because
doing it to fight communism.
the boogeyman.
Hmm. And by communism, they mean people wanting to make more than $1 an hour and have one day off a week. So,
Right. Yeah. Just have basic human rights.
yeah, to just be treated like a human being. So,
Yeah.
in 1934 in Costa Rica, more than 100,000 workers struck against UFCO. The company agreed to their demands, but never followed through, and many of the strike leaders were jailed or disappeared.
Yeah, why would they? They have the entire United States government backing them up.
Exactly. Now let's jump to Guatemala, 1954. President Jacobo Arbenz passed Decree 900, a land reform act that reclaimed unused land from corporations, including 200,000 acres from UFCO. So again, we have another instance of a country trying to do right by its people, trying to take the American capitalist boot off of its fucking throat and revitalize the land and help its people out of the poverty and impoverished conditions that had been forced upon them because of
Yeah.
American colonialism and American capitalism taking their land, right? And I always think that's just like I said before, it's important to like remember because when we're Ameribrained, we think that like all of these countries are like incapable, and it's because of us that they're even functioning a little bit, but it's the opposite. Like these countries and these governments have always tried to do things democratically, and they've always tried to do
Hmm.
things right by their people. And when it goes south and when they get involved in wars and when they become impoverished forever, it's because of American intervention.
Right. Yeah. And ugh, it's crazy because this is like the main reason of why. I mean, the average commute the last time I learned about this in Mexico City was like over 3 hours because corporations own so much of the land there
Hmm.
that it's unworkable. Like
Hmm.
they can't even work in their own town.
Yeah.
And we Americans are like, well, why do you have to come here? It's like because we are pushing them out of their own home.
Yeah. No, literally. It's just when you look to like the global south and you're like, what happened? Because it's just like what we were talking about before when you like look at pictures of Iraq before America came in.
Hmm.
It's the same thing. Like you look at pictures of like the global south before American colonialism and American corporations came in, and it's like this thriving metropolis of art and culture.
Hmm.
And then like Americans come in with their corporate and government funded coups and dismantle the government and put in like their puppeteers, and it falls apart. I mean, not to go off of a tangent, but even fucking Putin is connected to an American-led coup d'etat of from like the Soviet era. Like it
Yeah.
was because of the puppet politicians that we put in to fight communism that got Putin to the position he's in. It's directly traced to us
Yeah.
completely. So never forget. So anyway, President Jacobo offered to pay based on the land's tax value. And this is a baller ass move because the land's tax value was set by UFCO and they lowballed it for decades. So he's using like their bullshit against them, right?
Hmm.
So he offered them $1 million. And of course, um, UFCO said like fuck you. I think they wanted 15 million. If I remember correctly, I must have not put it on here, but I think they wanted 15 million rather than one.
Hmm.
So what did UFCO do? They
Uh,
called they
called the
ca-
army.
worse, they already had the army. They called the demon father of PR, and the source and reason of I forget what episode. I think it 154. You'd have to look it up. It's Edward Bernays, if you remember. You remember Edward
Oh,
Bernays, the
yeah, wasn't he
guy.
in our like
Yeah, we did a whole episode about him because
yeah.
he like created corporate PR that's like
Yeah.
evil and awful. Yeah, they fucking called on him, girl. They said, "Hey, we need like the most fucking insane and corrupt person America has to offer." And they said, "Here you go."
Yeah. Hmm.
And they hired him to do the only thing that would continue to line UFCO's pockets with American money and American weapons. What do you think that is? What do you think they paid Edward Bernays to do?
Uh, to do the propaganda, right? Or did he go in and
Yes,
actually
but what was the propaganda they were spilling?
that they
What was the
were
punchline?
the communism?
Exactly. They paid Edward Bernays to paint democratically elected President Jacobo as a Soviet puppet.
Ugh.
And
Always.
you might go like, how? Like that seems so unreasonable. You can't tell me that like one guy's marketing literally had the American military and government funding a fucking war. Well, would it help you to know that John Foster Dulles, the Secretary of State, and Alan Dulles, the CIA director, were both UFCO shareholders.
Oh, of course they were,
Would
because you
it?
can make money off of war crimes now.
Mm-hmm. Would it help you to know? So, enter in Operation PB Success, a CIA-led covert operation, or as historians would call it, a coup d'etat, where they would depose the democratically elected Guatemalan President Jacobo, so UFCO didn't have to pay up and could keep their stolen land.
It's fucking, we're the worst.
In 1954, the CIA trained and armed a rebel force led by Carlos Castillo Armas. The operation included psychological warfare tactics, such as propaganda raid broadcasts, making it seem like there were constant attacks. So when you said the banana radio,
Yeah,
yeah, girl, they
bananagram.
they were doing fucking fake emergency radio broadcasts to put the people of Guatemala in a constant state of like anxiety and terror and like run to like seek cover and shelter. The bombs are coming.
Yeah, remember when Hawaii got that
The nuke warning?
text? Yeah,
Yeah.
that they were like a missile was coming and people like freaked out. Imagine that all the time. Oh my God, I couldn't. I
Dude,
couldn't.
I think of like um way back in the day when I was in seventh grade history. We got to, because we all did so good on a test. One, and this Mr. Miller, shout out, my favorite teacher from Camarada Middle School in Cameron Park, California. You changed my life forever. But as a treat for being good, we got to listen to the original radio broadcasting of War of the Worlds. And
Yeah.
I feel like we've talked about it before, but like the original radio broadcasting of War of the Worlds was presented as if it was like a real live news report bulletin. And like there
Yeah.
were commercials, but like the way that they were placed was very like intentional. So
Hmm.
people genuinely thought that there was like an alien invasion. And if I'm not mistaken, like a few people killed themselves.
But yeah, some people died, like got hit in traffic. Touched by an angel. That's how she died in that show.
So you can only imagine like nonstop fake war propaganda on the radio. Um, and then not only was it like, because you would say, well, wouldn't they like get over it if nothing actually happened? No, because things did happen. Because remember, like the
Hmm.
American military and government is backing this, so there were still aerial bombings, but they were doing like the nonstop emergency broadcasting, and then like fake news stories of like uprising and in like disagreements within the parties. Like it was
Hmm.
all bullshit to just create chaos.
Yeah, to like make people afraid and then want to be done with it. People don't
Hmm.
want to feel like they're under attack all the time, so they'll just concede.
And then like they had even infiltrated like the protesters like media. So they were
Yeah.
making it seem like there was like a fight within the inner circles of like the revolutionary groups. It's when you have American money and the CIA's evil minds, you can come up with some really creative fucking dark shit, and they did.
Hmm.
So
God.
although the rebel force faced military setbacks, the psychological impact led to a loss of morale within the Guatemalan army. Fearing a full-scale U.S. invasion, Arbenz resigned on June 27th, 1954, and sought asylum. Carlos Castillo, the UFCO guy, assumed power.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
you know. And what did he do with that power? He established a military dictatorship.
We love those here.
Mm-hmm. Just fully funded by the United States government and bananas.
In pajamas.
His regime reversed many of the previous social reforms, banned opposition parties. So, again, like you said, the North Korean bananas, this is it, and suppressed dissent through imprisonment and, of course, execution. This period marked the beginning of decades of political instability and civil war in Guatemala, characterized by human rights abuses and targeting of indigenous populations. Between 3,000 and 500 executions followed of people who like dissented against the military dictatorship, and over 1,000 UFCO protesters were killed.
Right. Well,
America, America. Like, that's it, girl. That's what we do.
I mean, we're only one step away from this here. Like we're just being black bagged. But now that we're deporting people to war countries in Africa, this is essentially just executing any
Yeah.
immigrant or protester.
Yeah. And we're like shaking hands with like the corrupt governments that we put into place. Like,
Yeah, we getting free jets from Saudi Arabia.
exactly. Like, where is that? Isn't the military like not military prison? Isn't the fucking Guantanamo 2.0 in Guatemala? Like, wasn't it the Guatemalan president that was meeting with Trump who was like caught in 4K saying like you're gonna have Trump telling him like you're gonna need to build more prisons because like
Yeah,
shipping people the fuck out.
yeah,
That's because of this shit, dude. That's because of this CIA puppet government dictatorship. That's
yeah,
old money, dude. That's old American ties.
yeah. And they don't want to handle that on US soil, so they're going to send them somewhere else. Out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, off US soil, but still in a place that's run by US blood money and power.
Yep.
The coup had lasting effects on Guatemala's political landscape and US Latin American relations. In 1999, US President Bill Clinton acknowledged and apologized for the US's role in the coup and the subsequent human rights violations. That's it.
Oh,
That's all.
just my bad.
In 2011, the Guatemalan government formally apologized to Arbenza's family, recognizing the injustice of ousting and seeking to restore his legacy. But nothing
Yeah, I would have
came
left him
of
on red.
that. Yeah. So, jumping back in time, by the 1970s, UFCO was becoming like a toxic name, right?
Yeah.
So they rebranded. Another Edward Bernays fucking tip of the trade.
Hmm.
If your name is too covered in blood, change it. And in 1970, they became United Brands. But February 3rd, 1975, United Brands CEO Eli Black jumped to his death from the 44th floor of the Pan Am building in New York City.
Well, good for him.
That's what I say.
Yeah. Bye.
Because shortly after his suicide, investigations revealed that United Brands had paid a $1.25 million bribe with an additional $1.25 million promised for follow through to the Honduran president, Oswaldo Lopez. The bribe was made to secure a reduction in banana export taxes, a move that would have saved United Brands millions of dollars in operational costs.
Hmm.
Yeah, another tale as old as time. In 1977, the US banned DBCP, which is dibromychloroprane. It doesn't matter. It's
It
a fuck.
doesn't. Fuck it.
It's a fucking pesticide, and this was the main pesticide used on bananas. And it was found to cause sterilization and like other health risks and like deformities and cancers,
All right. Well,
right? Despite the ban, Chiquita, then United Brands, continued using DBCP on plantations in Latin America, exposing thousands of workers, many of whom later suffered infertility and health problems. And from this, during the 1980s and 1990s, thousands of workers sued for sterility, like being forced chemically sterile,
mm,
and birth defects if they did end up getting pregnant. Some workers won settlements, but many cases were thrown out or stalled due to legal technicalities, corporate pressure, and jurisdictional issues. Because again, like being in a different country and suing another country, they have competing laws in a way. So there's like
right.
little legal jurisdiction. It's why they did that. It's why Trump has the fucking prison outside of the United
Hmm.
States. In a few cases, U.S. judges ruled that foreign plaintiffs couldn't sue in U.S. courts, effectively denying them justice.
That's absolutely insane. Imagine if we wouldn't have been able to take any of the Nazis to court after the Holocaust happened, you know?
Well, we basically didn't because we hired them to work in our government.
Yeah.
So,
Well, the Nuremberg trials were a waste of time then.
I
Those were
mean,
for show only.
they were for show only because then they said, "Hey, you guys, so sorry for doing that. Here, move to fucking Omaha, Nebraska and work for
Or
NASA."
it's either come here or we kill you there.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Dog and pony show. So, again, for their crimes against humanity, United Brands rebranded to what you may know them now as Chiquita Brands International. And they did this in 1990 with Miss Chiquita, a smiling banana woman in heels and a fruit hat. But just because they got a rebrand doesn't mean the crime stopped. From the 1990s into the early 2000s, Chiquita Brands International funneled at least 1.7 million to a Colombian paramilitary group known as AUC, the United Self-Defense Forces of Colombia. While Chiquita later claimed these payments were made under duress to protect employees, court documents and internal records suggest otherwise. Many of the payments were documented as, quote, security services, end quote. And they continued regularly over the years, long after the AUC had been officially designated a terrorist organization by the US government.
Oh, great.
So, does that make sense? Chiquita was paying a paramilitary terrorist group in Colombia to fucking do their bidding and threaten or disappear slash kill strikers and protesters and anyone who like tried to speak up against like, hey, we need to get this land back from these fucking colonizers. They're ruining it. They're taking our money. Like, oh, they paid the paramilitary terrorist group to fucking kill those
Yeah,
people.
they no longer, the United States government got embarrassed enough, so they weren't going to provide any military support, so they had to buy their own, and then we had to pretend we had a problem with it.
Yeah, yeah. And then like when we said, "Hey, you guys," and then like
You got to use
Chiquita,
our guns,
yeah, you have
otherwise
to
we
use
get
ours.
mad.
And then Chiquita was like, "Oh, you guys, they made us.
Hmm.
They made us." And then yeah, of
Yeah.
course it's not true. So the AUC wasn't just a militia, it was a far-right death squad responsible for some of the most brutal human rights abuses in modern Colombian history. They carried out mass killings, forcibly displaced communities, and systematically targeted labor organizers, leftist politicians, teachers, and even children. Their mission sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Their mission was to wipe out anything they deemed a threat to corporate or elite interest. Thanks to Chiquita's money, they had the resources to do it. In 2007, Chiquita pleaded guilty in a U.S. court to, quote, doing business with a terrorist organization, end quote. They were fined $25 million, but notably, no executives were ever imprisoned.
Oh,
And the
great.
company never admitted moral wrongdoing. Meanwhile, families in Colombia, those who lost loved ones or were forced off their land, have spent years pursuing justice in both Colombian and U.S. courts.
Oh
Many of
yeah, nothing's going to happen. You can't sue foreign interest.
exactly. So many of those cases remain unresolved. And this wasn't an isolated incident. It was a modern continuation of the same tactics Chiquita, formerly United Fruit, has used for over a century, aligning with violent forces, crushing labor resistance, and treating human lives as collateral damage in the pursuit of cheap fruit and high profits. The names have changed, but the playbook hasn't. In 2024, a U.S. jury finally did what generations of activists and survivors had been demanding. It held Chiquita liable for murder. The case focused on the killings of 8 Colombian men, all murdered by the AUC while Chiquita was funding them. The jury found the company legally responsible and ordered to pay 38.3 million in damages to the victims' families. It marked the first time an American corporation was held accountable in U.S. court for funding a foreign terrorist organization that committed atrocities. The ruling came after years of legal hurdles, corporate defenses, and countless attempts to delay or dismiss these cases outright. But these 8 deaths were just the beginning. Thousands more lawsuits are still pending, filed by families of union leaders, teachers, farmers, and the families of children killed or disappeared during the years Chiquita funded the AUC. Survivors and human rights lawyers see the 2024 verdict as a crack in the wall, a chance to finally pull back the curtain on how deeply corporate money has fueled violence in the global South. Today, Chiquita is no longer an American company. It's owned by Brazil's Cultural Group, I guess, one of the largest orange juice producers in the world, and the Safara Group, a banking and investment empire. And if you think that means that it doesn't have American corporate interest in it, learn how to read
Oh, they're making
between the
money on it.
lines. Exactly.
Also, it looks like they're worth over $1 billion. So 30 million is just a slap on the wrist, really.
Yeah, pennies. They changed ownership, but again, hadn't changed the game because while the names on the boardroom doors may be different, the banana model is still fundamentally fucked. And let's start with the land. Monoculture farming, the industrial practice of growing a single crop over massive areas, is still the dominant method in banana production. It's cheaper, faster, and easier to manage, but it also devastates biodiversity, depletes soil, pollutes local water sources with pesticides, and leaves entire regions vulnerable to disease. Why? Because there are no natural defenses when every plant is genetically identical. Which brings us to the TR4 fungus, known as the tropical race 4. It's a fast-spreading soil-borne disease that's attacking the Cavendish banana, the variety that dominates global exports. The Cavendish was only adopted in the mid-20th century because you might have figured it out by now. Panama disease wiped out its predecessor.
No.
So we have learned nothing. Meanwhile, the human cost is as steep as ever. In most banana exporting countries, workers earn poverty level wages, around $5 a day. Many are still forced to live in company owned housing, shop in company owned stores, and rely on inconsistent seasonal work. Union busting is routine, with organizers often fired, harassed, or disappeared. In some places, trying to start a banana union is still a death sentence. And no, the violence hasn't stopped. While the AUC may have officially demobilized, other armed groups have filled the power vacuum that America fucking created. In parts of Colombia, Honduras, and Ecuador, plantations are still patrolled by private security or criminal groups, and workers still face intimidation, forced evictions, and disappearances. So yes, Chiquita changed hands, but the model, the economics, the power dynamics, still rotten. This isn't just a fruit story. It's capitalism in its rawest form, profit over people, over land, over life. It's the story of how corporations become empires, how violence gets outsourced, how history gets cleaned up and sold back to us with a smiley sticker and a dancing bitch with fruit on her head. So next time you peel a banana, remember what's under the skin. A century of blood, propaganda, and fucking capitalism.
And pajamas.
And bananas and fucking pajamas. So
That's insane.
that's it, girl.
And you could have copy pasted any name into this, like Nestle water or,
Yeah.
anything that has foreign investments. And you see it all over the world, and we're losing our ability to be a superpower now. So good. Hopefully, our own failure will make it. Actually, you know what? Our own failure just make us more vicious. So
Yeah. We just become the raccoon with its paw stuck in a trap.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I agree with you. It's literally a story as old as time for American colonial capitalism. Just insert any corporation that runs the United States, like handpick one of those oligarchy groups, and it's the same story. You can always trace it back. There's always a connection. Even to like I said before, our quote unquote enemies, like we put them there. It was American greed and American colonialism and American capitalism that that did it. It's always is. It's always connected. And you could even think back like even further, like anytime something evil happens and something evil like pops up, it's because there was like a black hole power vacuum created by the United States.
Yeah.
So,
Ugh, so sad.
so anyway, I stay hating bananas and I knew it. I knew that I didn't like bananas for a reason. I couldn't tell you what that reason was before doing all of this research, but now I know. Now I know that probably generational trauma is what kept me from liking bananas in this
Yeah,
current
we knew
timeline.
they don't taste good when they're covered in blood.
Yeah. And honestly, I don't even think they taste that good anyway. So, um, with that being said, you know it does taste great. What tastes great is going to the link tree in any of our bios. We are at Good Hell Podcast. I am at Noel Fain. That is at Sith Lord. And you can click the link in those bios and you can go to our Patreon. Dollar gets you in. This is a big hater episode this week. So love that energy. Love being a hater. Positivity is dead. You can also find a link to our merch. 100% of proceeds are donated. You can find a link to the Discord server, which is thanks to Tony Guacamole, where this topic came from. So we are, despite Chelsea's lack of replying in the Discord, we are in it and looking at it and reading it and seeing what you guys are doing. So
Sorry.
you can also find a link to Kelly Holloran or at Wildwood Owl on Etsy. She makes cool shit for us and she makes cool shit in general. Also, shout out. I see a lot of her stuff is getting like put in more places, more storefronts. She keeps posting about it. So, congratulations, Kelly. We love you. And you can, I mean, oh my God, before I get to that, the YouTube. You can also click a link to follow us on YouTube if that's your thing. If you have YouTube Red and you're like, I like that over Spotify, whatever floats your boat. Um, you can also find a link to listen to us. I don't know why you'd need it since you're doing that right now, but if you did, if you wanted to, you can find that there. And you can listen to us anywhere podcasts are heard.
Hell yeah.
So I am gonna go ahead and give a hail to what's that guy? What's the guy? The Mexican Revolution?
Guacamole. Oh,
No,
Subcomandante
it's
Marcos.
him and Tony Guacamole. Honestly, two revolutionary minds. Because, like I said in this episode, I think we need to do a better job of reminding ourselves of the stories of these successful revolutions in human history, because it's very comfortable and cozy, because we've been like fucking programmed this way to like stay in the all-consuming doomer brain of like American capitalism, and like it's tough
Mhm.
and it feels miserable. And like we get so tunnel visioned in that we forget that like there have been successful, beautiful revolutions all around us and throughout human history.
Yeah.
So we need to remind ourselves of that. So give a hail to that.
Yeah. And hail unions. Stop voting
Yeah.
against them.
Hail unions. Hail unions. Goddamn. Support your local unions. Um, become aware of the union busting tactics that companies are trying to use. Unions protect you. Don't fall for the propaganda.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's get the fuck out of here.
All right. Bye.
Bye.